Right now, an exclusive story you will only find on News 11. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says falling asleep at the wheel caused 72,000 crashes in 2013.
As News 11's Blake Keller reports, there's an upward trend in driving tired, and there are things you can do to avoid dozing off on the road.
Driving fatigue is kind of like driving under the influence of alcohol.
Getting behind the wheel after a long day is almost the same as getting behind the wheel after a night of drinking. In fact, the National Sleep Foundation says if you stay awake for a full 24 hours and then drive, it's like having a blood alcohol level of 0.10%.
There's a lot of accidents due to this, to drivers being fatigued.
Data backs up that claim. The Arizona Department of Transportation says in 2017, nearly 1,800 people in Arizona involved in crashes were fatigued. That number is much higher in California. California Highway Patrol's data from 2016 shows over 6,900 crashes involving sleepy or fatigued drivers. We've seen that problem in our area.
So fatigue is a very common issue on drivers.
In December 2017, an 18-year-old man was involved in a single vehicle crash at Avenue B in County 20.5 Street. He told police he fell asleep at the wheel. But the problem doesn't just affect regular drivers, it affects commercial truck drivers as well.
And the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration that show that the #1 cause of accidents and fatal accidents on commercial vehicles is drivers being tired, being fatigued, or being drowsy.
That's why ADOT's Enforcement and Compliance Division is on the roads, making sure truck drivers aren't overworking themselves into a pit of restlessness.
The drivers are required to only work a certain amount of hours, and so we check a logbook. They're required to carry a logbook with them, and we see a lot of drivers going over hours.
These videos provided by ADOT show the dangers and real consequences of driving tired. In February 2015, 57-year-old Yuma resident Jose Alejandro Sanchez Ramirez was driving in Ventura County when he made a wrong turn onto the railroad tracks. Minutes later, a Metrolink train crashed into his big rig, killing engineer Glenn Steele and injuring a dozen others on board. A 2016 NTSB report says Ramirez was acutely fatigued for being awake for more than 24 hours. The report says he was also unfamiliar with the area. A year later, Ramirez was charged with misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter. He pleaded not guilty. Attempts to reach him and his attorney have been unsuccessful. And here at home, the Yuma Truck Driving School is providing a curriculum to 150 to 200 students a year to prevent incidents like this from happening. On-site director Chad LaChance says they train drivers until they're ready for the road.
So our mission here at the Yuma Truck Driving School is to provide the skills necessary for new drivers to safely operate commercial vehicles.
Sometimes truck drivers' unconventional schedule have them getting behind the wheel at early hours in the morning, and they're also on the road for up to 11 hours a day. So how can you avoid feeling tired at the wheel?
Make sure that when you're off, get rest, proper nutrition, little, exercise if you can get it, but those factors will play into individual and whether or not they can fight fatigue or not.
It's tips anyone could use. And since standards are higher for professional truck drivers, so are the consequences.
For drivers, for commercial drivers, it is illegal to drive when they're fatigued. And if we determine that the driver is fatigued, what we do is that we put him out of service.
But for regular drivers on the road,
common sense can apply. If a driver feels fatigued at any time, that if you feel unsafe or you're tired, that the driver should pull off the road in a safe location to rest up before they get back on the road again.
The National Conference of State Legislatures says Arizona and California doesn't have any sleeping driving laws, so being self-aware helps keep you and our roads safe. Reporting in Yuma, Blake Keller, News 11.
Scary to think about. Good information, Blake. Well, ADOT says there are ways to spot a sleepy driver. Yawning, blinking frequently, missing your exit, and drifting out of your lane are all signs of a fatigued driver.
ADOT also says they train other companies on how to identify body language and driving patterns to help officers enforce rules and regulations.